We're at the Gettysburg Museum of History Annex in my temporary office, and I wanted to bring you a couple of items that we've gotten very recently to the museum. So this is a what's new at the museum. And if you watch the channel, you probably know we have the largest collection in the world of Easy Company 506 101st Airborne items from World War II, including many of the famous soldiers and officers that were featured in Band of Brothers, the series. And one of my favorite things is uniforms. I really like uniforms because they tell the story of a soldier. You can look at them, and if you know how to read them, you can tell exactly what theater he was in, what unit he was in, and what awards he received. So there was one uniform that I knew of that was still in private hands that I was hoping to get at some point, and that day came fairly recently. We had a few items from this guy in our collection. We had some of his insignia and some of his medals, but the person who was the former caretaker of this uniform decided to let it go. And this is the uniform of Edward Joint. And he was from Erie, Pennsylvania. And I was very hopeful to get this for our collection for several reasons. I collect Easy Company, or we want to get as much stuff as we can, but also he's a guy from Pennsylvania. And the other interesting thing about Ed Joint to me personally was he was with Brad Freeman from Easy Company when he was wounded during the Battle of the Bulge. And so Brad Freeman was a good friend of mine. He was the last surviving member of Easy Company 506. And you know, he had a whole story about them getting wounded, whereas they were in between Foy and Neuville, and almost to Neuville. And the site that Brad showed me was actually in Neuville. But a screaming Mimi came in and exploded near him and Ed Joint, and they both were hit by that round. And he told me that Doc Rowe came over, the famous medic, and we're treating them. And he went to treat Brad Freeman first, and he told him to treat Ed Joint first. And I said, why did you tell him to do that? And he said, because he was hollering loud, and he wanted him to, he thought he was hurt worse. And in fact, he was. So Ed Joint was wounded along with Brad Freeman. They both recovered from their wounds. But we have this, and it's a beautiful uniform. We have the Screaming Eagle patch here. This would be probably the uniform he came home with. It's an Ike jacket, which is a later jacket, not worn in combat, but worn when they would go out on leave, and a lot of the guys wore these home. So this is usually what you see if you get a veteran grouping. He was a sergeant, and he has the leadership stripe here, and has his E Company infantry collar disc in the US, the Presidential Unit Citation, and the jump wings, because he was a paratrooper, a Bronze Star with a oak leaf, which means he received the Bronze Star twice. And his Purple Heart from the wound I was just talking about, good conduct, and here's his theater ribbon with the arrowhead device and the campaigns he was in. So you get a star for each campaign. He also has the cord for Belgium and France. So pretty. Oh, and of course the combat infantry badge, and that's interesting because that's made out of bullion. Usually they were metal, and people would put them on. And you know, modern military people always will comment. Modern military guys who don't know World War II history are going to say, how can you have the CIB? That's not right, it's fake, or whatever. During World War II, the CIB and the placement was not regulated. So they put it where it fit the best. If you put your CIB up here, it's going to be hidden. In modern military, it would go above. And they have a specific order for every award. So during World War II, a lot of times you'll see the CIB, especially the metal ones, on the pocket because it was easy to put the prongs through the pocket itself. And most guys in World War II were more proud of their jump wings than their CIB. Remember in World War II, there were millions of guys in World War II, and there's a lot of CIBs awarded. Not as many paratroopers, so that puts you above most guys. So nowadays, since not that many people are in combat for any period of time or qualify for the CIB, this is a more coveted award, and a lot more people have jump wings because they've been airborne qualified or went through airborne school at some point. So that should, because every time I show one of these uniforms or put it on social media, you get called out for that, for people thinking that we're incorrect when actually World War II things were a little bit different. And then on this shoulder patch we have the Allied airborne patch, which a lot of the guys had on their uniforms around the time of Operation Market Garden, when they combined the airborne with the British. Down here at the bottom of the left sleeve, we have overseas service stripes. So each one of these are for 6 months of service overseas. So we have 2.5 years that were total service. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So 2.5 years overseas. Most of the Easy Company guys that went in at the beginning had that many. Some of them maybe that would have stayed a little bit longer, such as Ronald Spears would have more. We're very, very happy to have this in the Easy Company exhibit. This one really meant a lot to me just because of that connection with my friend Brad Freeman, more so than the guys I didn't really know. And so we're going to have this in our new exhibit. We're building a new Band of Brothers exhibit here in this building, and we're really, I've been very, very excited about the progress we've made, and some of the really amazing theming that we're doing. So we're very, very happy to have this uniform.
We've got another pretty incredible uniform that we're going to show here in just a second. But before that, I wanted to show a few things that we have here at the museum. Now, part of the reason that the museum is open and available to the public completely free of charge, which is rather rare, especially for collections like what you see at the Gettysburg Museum of History, is because the sale of historic items like this. So Eric goes out and buys different items specifically to resell, to raise money, to keep the museum open, and for the expansion. Anything that is donated to the museum stays in the museum. So what we're looking at here are some items that you might see on the website shop from time to time. So here is a piece of Confederate money. Here are some relics that were recovered off of the battlefield. Now, keep in mind that it is illegal to recover items off of the battlefield today, but prior to, I think, 1979, it was completely legal. So these are from old collections. And also, if you're into World War II, well, there are also relic boxes like this. So here's some sand from Omaha Beach. Here is a piece of brick from Hitler's Berghof, some wood from the Bois Jacques, a piece of the deck from the USS Arizona. So if you're into relics and historic items yourself as a teaching tool or for your own pleasure, well, there are all kinds of things that you can pick up there, or also for gifts for Christmas or birthdays. Here are a few more examples of things that you can find on the website on a regular basis. We try to keep things like this in stock. What you're looking at here is the Eastern Front Campaign Medal for the German Army in World War II, also known as the Frozen Meat Medal. We have a few Iron Crosses here. These are of the second class variety. And then, there are various documents and postcards and things like that. These are items that, of course, are not to celebrate the Third Reich, but rather to celebrate the defeat of the Third Reich. U.S. soldiers brought items like this home as souvenirs to show that we won and they lost. So you can take items like this and add them to your collection or use them as teaching tools or things like that. And then also here are a few larger relic boxes that really make great gift items. These in particular, one is from the fields of Pickett's Charge. So there's a bullet that was recovered there, as well as a piece of witness wood, and another one here from Reynolds Woods, where the First Corps fought on the first day of the battle. We've got a few more World War II items over here. And then, of course, for anyone who is a history nerd, books are also a great gift for yourself or for someone else. So here are the books Fierce Valor and Hang Tough by Eric Dorr and Jared Frederick, which you can find personally signed copies on the website. So yeah, all kinds of stuff that supports the museum and at the same time sets you up with a cool gift for yourself or someone else.
As I stated when we were going over Edward Joint's uniform, one of my absolute favorite things are uniforms. And when it comes to historic uniforms, it doesn't get much historic than this. And this is the uniform of General Colin Powell, future meaning future after he left the military, he would become the Secretary of State. So this tells his story. I'm not going to go over everything because there's a lot of awards on here, but I'll just start with some of the awards on his left breast here. He's got a CIB. He was a Vietnam vet, so he has the Vietnam campaign ribbons and service ribbons. He did have a Purple Heart, and was awarded the Legion of Merit twice because he's got an oak leaf device on it. He was airborne qualified. He went through airborne school and glider. I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying glider because we have so much World War II. This is air assault wings here, and the Joint Chiefs badge here, and the Presidential Staff badge, and some of the other staff badges that he was involved. It has his 4 stars here and his Ranger tab, which is, he went to Ranger qualification at some point, and the AmeriCall unit there, which I believe was his combat unit in Vietnam. We have a squeaky mannequin here. And it has a really interesting, or really well done tailor tag inside. Generals like this would go to tailors, have their uniforms made perfectly, and so it would fit perfectly. So we'll show you that in a minute. It has his name and everything tailored for General Colin Powell. And it's really amazing to have this in our collection. We have a lot of items from World War II and the Civil War and some World War I, but we're getting more and more items from Desert Storm and Global War on Terror. We featured the Saddam Hussein uniform that we have on a previous episode. So we're really honored to have this and a real piece of American history.